The rain against the window pane is a frantic, tinny drumbeat, the only rhythm in Bayview Harbor tonight. It's a sound that should be comforting, a lullaby for a city built on water. But tonight it just feels like 1,000 tiny fists trying to break their way in. I shift my weight on the creaking floorboards, my body a human metronome, swaying back and forth as I hum a song with no words, in my arms. Rowan's breathing finally deepens, her tiny chest rising and falling in the soft, steady cadence of sleep. Her 6 months on this earth have been a fight, and most nights, sleep is the only truce she's willing to accept. I look at her, my daughter, my whole world condensed into this warm, fragile weight. A wisp of dark hair curls against her temple, so much like his. I push the thought away, a familiar, reflexive motion like swatting a fly. Here, in this cramped second-floor room overlooking the skeletal masts of the marina, there is no room for him. The air smells of salt, damp wood, and the faint, sweet scent of Rowan's hypoallergenic formula, the scent of my life now. My phone buzzes on the nightstand, a low, insistent vibration against the cheap particle board. I wait a beat, praying it doesn't wake her. Then carefully, painstakingly, I lower Rowan into her bassinet. My back screams in protest. Between shifts at the Salt and Steam Cafe and my freelance ASL gigs, my body feels like a ship run aground, slowly being broken apart by the tide of exhaustion. The screen of the phone is a spider web of cracks, a map of my own clumsiness. The notification glows with an ugly, clinical light. Bayview General Hospital. Your account, reference 77B Linden, is 90 days past due. Immediate payment of $4,872.19 is required to avoid collections. My stomach clenches. $4,000 might as well be $4 million. It's the cost of discovering Rowan's rare milk protein allergy, a series of panicked ER visits and specialist appointments that bled me dry. I swipe to another app, the state's public assistance portal. A blunt red banner screams across the top. Account frozen. I already know why. A clerical error. They have my name down as Mara Linden Vale on one form from months ago, a mistake. A ghost from a past I've tried to bury, and just Mara Linden on all the others. The discrepancy was enough to flag the system. The caseworker said it could take weeks to fix. Weeks I don't have. Weeks Rowan's specialized formula won't wait for. The television in the corner, a relic from the last tenant, is on mute. But the images flicker with a grim familiarity. A stern-faced man in a suit stands behind a podium, the seal of the Federal Commerce and Maritime Illicit Bureau, the FCMIB, plastered behind him. The chyron reads, FCMIB intensifies probe into Mariner's Gate Syndicate. My blood runs cold. I should turn it off, but I can't. My eyes are glued to the screen as they flash a grainy surveillance photo. It's him. Even blurred and shadowed, there's no mistaking the breadth of his shoulders, the severe line of his jaw. The name floats up in the closed captions, a word that feels like an anchor dropping in the silent room, Cassian Vale. The name doesn't just ring a bell, it tolls one. It's the sound of a courthouse door slamming shut, of chaos erupting. It's the memory of his body, a solid wall of warmth and wool, shielding me as the world exploded into shattered glass and sharp, cracking noises. He had moved without thinking, a predator's grace in a tailored suit, pushing me down behind a thick oak witness stand. I can still smell the scent of his coat, a mix of rain, cedar, and something uniquely him. And then there was the other memory, the one that followed, the one from a single night in a storm-swept hotel by the pier, a night I've spent the last 15 months trying to forget. The night Rowan was conceived. After seeing his name, a panicked energy I can't afford to feel surges through me. I move through the small room with a desperate, quiet efficiency. I double-check the privacy settings on my burner phone, confirm my social media is still deactivated, that the digital ghost of Mara Linden is as faint as I can make it. In the bottom of my sock drawer, wrapped in a faded handkerchief, is a simple, heavy silver chain. He'd taken it off that night, left it on the nightstand. By the time I realized it, I was already miles away, running from a world I knew would swallow me whole. It's the only tangible thing I have of him, the only proof that he was ever more than a nightmare or a dream. I bury it deeper under a pile of mismatched socks, out of sight, out of mind, a lie I tell myself every day. A knock on the door shatters the quiet. It's not the polite rap of a neighbor, it's heavy, impatient. 3 solid thuds that seem to shake the whole door frame. Rowan stirs in her bassinet, a soft whimper escaping her lips. My heart seizes. No one knows I'm here. I've moved 3 times in the last year, paying in cash, using a name that's close to mine but not quite. Mara Linden, a man's voice grates from the other side, rough and impatient. I know you're in there. Landlord said a woman with a baby. Open up. This is about your debt. My debt, the hospital bill, how? I creep to the door, my bare feet silent on the worn linoleum, peering through the peephole. The distorted face of a man I've seen lurking around the dock stares back. He's thick-set, with a faded tattoo of a snarling dog on his neck. Kane Hollister. He's a bottom feeder, a collector for the Iron Jet crew. Mariners' Gate's filthier, less disciplined rivals. They deal in the kind of predatory loans that trap people like me. I'd borrowed a few $100s from a guy at the docks weeks ago, a desperate move to cover a pharmacy bill. I never imagined it would lead Kane to my door. I don't have it, I whisper, my voice trembling, my hand hovering over the deadbolt. Not my problem, he snarls, his voice muffled by the wood. The vig has been adding up. You owe $2,000 now. I'm here to collect. I need more time. My voice is barely audible. I place a hand on Rowan's bassinet, gently rocking it. She's still asleep. Thank God. Time's up, he says. There's a scraping sound, and he laughs, a low, ugly noise. Look, I don't want to make a scene, but a friend of mine at the county records office tells me you just filed for a birth certificate for one Rowan Linden. Pretty document. Important, too. Can't get far without it. My blood turns to ice. You've got 48 hours to get my money, or I'll be back to take that piece of paper as collateral. And trust me, you don't want to find out how much it'll cost to get it back. He bangs on the door one last time, a final, punctuating threat, and then I hear the heavy tread of his boots receding down the hall. I lean against the door, my legs shaking so badly I can barely stand. He knows about Rowan. He knows her name. He's threatening to take the one thing that proves she is mine, that she even exists. My mind races, clicking through options like a broken machine. I can't go to the police. The Iron Jets have cops on their payroll. I have no money, no one to call, nowhere to go that they couldn't find me. The plan forms out of sheer animal panic. A bus, the 5:15 a.m. bus to Philadelphia. From there, another bus and another, until I'm somewhere he can't find us. I grab a duffel bag and start throwing things in diapers. The last few cans of formula, a change of clothes for me, Rowan's favorite soft blanket. My hands are shaking, but my movements are precise. I am a mother protecting her child. It is the most primal instinct I have. The foghorn moans from the harbor, a long, mournful sound that seems to seep through the walls. The sound throws me back to the courthouse, to the moment after the chaos. Cassian's eyes. As he'd helped me to my feet, his gaze was utterly, unnervingly calm. It wasn't the absence of fear, it was the look of a man who had made peace with it, who lived with it every day and knew its every move. He navigated the line between life and death like a seasoned captain navigating a treacherous channel. That same calmness had been there that night at the pier, even when the storm outside was raging. For a wild, insane second, I think of calling him. His number is seared into my brain, a sequence of digits I've tried and failed to forget. He could make this go away. He could make Kane Hollister disappear with a single word. No, I whisper to myself, shaking my head violently. I look at Rowan sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the storm gathering around us. Don't you dare call him Mara. He's the bigger storm. Kane is a squall, a violent but passing thing. Cassian Vale is a hurricane. He wouldn't just solve the problem, he would become the problem. He would consume us. Suddenly, the wall behind the television shudders, a low, deep vibration that rattles the cheap print of a sailboat hanging there. My eyes dart to the hallway. Under my door, the small red light of the building's security camera, usually a steady dot, is blinking, on, off, a silent, frantic pulse. Someone is watching the feed. Someone is active. Instinct takes over. I grab a thin blanket and drape it over the bassinet, shielding Rowan from view. Then I scoop her into my arms, holding her small, warm body against my chest as if I can absorb the danger myself. My phone buzzes again. This time, it's not the hospital. It's a text from an unknown number. The message is short. 5 simple words that stop my heart. Don't go outside. Kane's not alone. My breath catches in my throat. I stare at the message, at the small, almost imperceptible icon at the end of the text bubble. It's a stylized drawing of a lighthouse beam. Harbor Light. It's the signature of a heavily encrypted, closed network messaging system, a system I know, from whispers I overheard that night, that is used by only one organization. Mariner's Gate. My legs give out and I sink to the floor, clutching my daughter to my chest. The rain drums on the roof, the foghorn cries from the bay, and the only thought in my head is a terrifying, undeniable truth. The net I thought I'd escaped has been around me all along. Kane wasn't the hunter, he was just the dog, sent to flush me out of hiding. And now, the true hunter knows exactly where I am. Cassian Vale has found me, the Harbor Light icon, a single, stylized beam of light cutting through the digital darkness of my phone screen. It's a signature, a brand, a death warrant. It confirms my deepest fear. The one I've been running from for 15 months. I was never lost. I was just misplaced. And now, I've been found. My lungs feel vacuum-sealed. I'm still on the floor, the cracked linoleum cold against my skin. Rowan, a warm, solid weight in my arms. She's the only thing that's real. A sharp, guttural shout from the street below shatters the fragile silence. Mara, we know you're up there. Don't make this harder. Kane Hollister. My blood runs cold. The Harbor Light text was a warning. Don't go outside. Kane's not alone. Below my window, the wet street ignites with the sound of revving engines, a chorus of angry, metallic wasps. The Iron Jet crew. They aren't just sending a collector anymore. They've sent a posse. The threat against Rowan's birth certificate wasn't an empty one. They mean to tear this place apart, and me with it. I scramble backward, crab walking away from the door, my eyes darting to the flimsy fire escape outside the window. It's useless. The street below is swarming. The noise, the yelling, the sudden, sharp scent of exhaust fumes, rising even to the second floor, it all rips a seam in time. The apartment walls dissolve. The smell of damp plaster and old milk is gone, replaced by the scent of floor wax and old paper. 15 months ago, I am standing in the well of courtroom 4, my hands moving in the clean, precise lines of American Sign Language. The air is stale, thick with the drone of a prosecuting attorney. My client, Mr. Bellows, a shipping accountant for a small tugboat company, sits beside me, his eyes following my hands, oblivious to the boredom of the proceedings. He is deaf, and I am his voice. I am translating a tedious cross-examination about bills of lading when the sound comes. It is not a gavel. It is the sharp, percussive crack of the world breaking. The large window overlooking the plaza explodes inward, a constellation of glass shards riding a wave of noise. People scream. I freeze. My body, my mind, everything locks. Mr. Bellows, feeling the vibration, turns to me, his face a mask of confusion. Then, movement, a blur from the back row. Cassian Vale had been there all morning, observing, a dark suit, a still presence. He wasn't involved in this case, just watching. He moved with a speed that defied his size, a panther in bespoke wool. He didn't run, he flowed. He hit me like a linebacker, his shoulder connecting with my ribs, driving all the air from my lungs. We didn't just fall, We were propelled, crashing behind the thick, carved oak witness stand. My head struck the wood, and for a second the world went white. The next sound was a heavy thwack as something metallic punched a hole in the wood exactly where my head had been. He was on top of me, a solid, unmoving shield of muscle and expensive fabric. I was pinned, my cheek pressed against the dusty floor, my senses filled with the smell of him, not cologne, but clean wool, rain, and the sharp, unexpected tang of lemon. He didn't say a word. He just breathed, his body absorbing the terrifying rhythm of the chaos unfolding around us. "Mama?" The small, questioning sound snaps me back. Rowan is awake. Her eyes are wide, reflecting the flashing blue and red lights that now dance across the ceiling. Mixing with the yellow glow of the street lamps, the motorcycles are still revving, a constant, goading threat. "Shh, baby, shh," I murmur, my voice trembling. I push myself into the darkest corner of the room. Between the dresser and the wall, it's just thunder, a big storm. A storm. That's what it was the night he saved me. After the sirens, after the tactical teams had swept the courthouse and the gunman, a lone, crazed man with a grievance against the judge, was neutralized. Cassian had pulled me to my feet. His hands were steady. Mine were shaking so hard I couldn't sign my own name. He guided me out a side exit, away from the reporters and the flashing cameras, into an alley slick with a sudden downpour. The rain was cold, a shock against the adrenaline burning my skin. He'd taken off his raincoat, a heavy, dark trench, and draped it over my shoulders. It swallowed me, still warm from his body, still smelling of wool and lemon. "I owe you my thanks," he'd said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate in the narrow space. I'd stared at him, confused. "For what you saved my life." His eyes, the color of dark whiskey, held mine. "You didn't scream." It was the strangest, darkest compliment I'd ever received. He saw my frozen terror not as weakness, but as control. He saw me wrong. The rain turned from a shower to a deluge. "We can't stay here," he'd said, nodding toward a dim, unglowing sign at the end of the alley, the Far Pier Tavern. "We'll wait out the storm." We were the only patrons. The place was all dark wood, brass fixtures, and the smell of stale beer. We sat in a booth by a window streaming with water. The world outside blurred and frantic. We didn't talk about the shooting. We didn't talk about who he was, though I knew. Everyone in Bayview knew the name Vale, knew he ran the Mariners Gate Syndicate with a quiet, lethal efficiency. Instead, we talked about impossible things. I told him about my old Pentax K1000, how I loved the grain of film, the honesty of a single, unchangeable shot. I told him I wanted to have a small studio, to take portraits of the dock workers and sailors, the people whose faces were maps of the sea. He listened. He didn't just hear the words, he listened. His focus so intense it was almost unnerving. In return, he told me things I doubt he'd told anyone else. He knew the flash patterns of every defunct lighthouse from Sandy Hook to Cape May. He could name the builder and the tonnage of ships just by their silhouette in the fog. He spoke of the water not as a businessman, but as a scholar. The storm raged outside, but in that booth, a different kind of pressure was building. When he reached across the table, his fingers didn't brush mine. They simply covered my hand, a gesture of absolute ownership. "You're not like anyone I've ever met, Mara Linden." The kiss that followed wasn't one of passion. Not at first. It was slow, careful, almost analytical, as if he were testing the depth of the water before a dive. He tasted of the whiskey he'd been nursing and the rain he'd run through. And I, starved for a moment of quiet strength, kissed him back. I let my fear and gratitude and loneliness get tangled up until I couldn't tell them apart. The escalation was silent. He paid the bill, his hand never leaving my arm, and led me upstairs to a room above the tavern. The walls were covered in old, framed nautical charts. The only light came from the neon tavern sign below, casting the room in a pulsing red glow. It was a collision of two solitudes. It wasn't gentle, but it was not rough. It was desperate. It was the heat of his skin through his thin cotton shirt, the pressure of his hands on my back, the startling, grounding weight of him. It was a wordless, breathless conversation, an acknowledgement of the abyss we'd both looked into that afternoon. For one night, just one. It felt like an anchor in a storm. I woke before dawn. The room was cold, the air thick with the smell of the low tide. Cassian was asleep, his face turned toward me. The hard lines of his jaw were softened, his breathing deep and even. For a split second, he looked almost harmless. Then his phone lit up on the nightstand, a preview of a message. My blood chilled. Tri-County Protective Commission is sniffing. They think you're using the port budget for surveillance. We need to move the assets from Pier 12. Tri-County, assets, surveillance. The words were clinical, cold. The man beside me wasn't a scholar of the sea. He was a kingpin. The man who had shielded me with his body was the same man whose business created the very danger he'd saved me from. I wasn't an exception. I was a complication, a witness, a liability. I didn't just leave. I fled. I slid from the bed, gathered my clothes, and was out the door in under a minute. I left him with a half-empty cup of coffee I'd poured and the silver chain he'd taken off. Still coiled on the nightstand, I never looked back. Weeks later, the nausea started. The 2 pink lines on a plastic stick confirmed my terror. I was pregnant with the child of Cassian Vale. My decision was instant, absolute. My child would not be a pawn in a world of shadows and steel. He or she would never be an asset. So I vanished. I emptied my small bank account, changed my name slightly, and submerged myself in the anonymity of the cash-based gig economy. I moved from Bayview to Atlantic City, then back, always staying one step ahead of a shadow I wasn't even sure was following me. My old life, my photography, my dreams. I sold them off, piece by piece. My beloved Pentax camera was the last to go, traded for 2 months' supply of Rowan's specialized formula. That life feels 1,000 miles away. Now, there is only this room, this corner, and the escalating, animalistic roar from the street. Last chance. Mara Kane's voice is amplified now, maybe by a bullhorn. Send the money down, or we're coming up. A heavy thud shakes the front door of the building. Not my apartment door, but the main entrance downstairs. They're breaking it down. My heart is a trapped bird, beating against my ribs. I clutch Rowan so tightly she whimpers, her small face screwing up in confusion and fear. I'm sorry, baby, I whisper, loosening my grip. I have to think. The fire escape is a death trap. The door is not an option. The building goes quiet for a moment. The motorcycles idle. A low, menacing thrum. Even Kane has stopped shouting. The silence is worse. It's the silence of anticipation. Then a new sound. Ding. The sound is so mundane, so domestic. It's surreal. The ancient, groaning elevator at the end of the hall, the one I never use, has been called. My heart doesn't just skip. It stops. It freezes. Kane and his crew would take the stairs. They are loud, brutal. They would not wait for an elevator. I hear the grinding of the old motor, the rattle of the cables. It's coming up, past the first floor. It stops. It stops on my floor. My breath is gone. I can't move. I'm a statue of terror clutching a living child. The scarred, graffiti-covered metal doors at the end of the hall groan, scraping open with a sound like a drawn-out sigh. For a second, there is nothing. Just the empty, flickering, yellow-lit space of the elevator car. Then a shadow detaches itself from the deeper shadows within. A man steps out. He's tall, his shoulders filling the narrow hallway, his dark trench coat dripping rainwater onto the filthy carpet. He stands perfectly still, his body framed by the open elevator doors, a figure of absolute, terrible stillness. His eyes find my door, find the peephole I'm not brave enough to look through. He doesn't have to knock. I don't have to see his face. The air in the hallway has changed. The pressure has dropped. The hurricane has made landfall. It's him. Cassian Vale. The hallway is a tube of buzzing, yellow light. It flickers erratically over the damp patches on the ceiling and the scuffed, peeling paint on the walls, and in the center of it all, he stands. Cassian Vale doesn't just occupy the space, he commands it, sucks the very air out of it. The rain clings to his dark trench coat, beading on the heavy wool like tiny jewels. It drips from the ends of his dark hair onto the filthy carpet, the only sound in a world that has gone utterly, terrifyingly silent. His face is all sharp angles and shadows, but his eyes are not cold. They are the color of embers. Glowing with a low, steady heat in the dim light, they are fixed on my door, on me. Time stretches, becoming thin and brittle. Downstairs, the angry growl of the Iron Jet's motorcycles is a distant, unreal sound, like a memory of a threat. The real threat is 10 feet away, separated from me by a flimsy wooden door and a cheap lock. "Open the door, Mara." His voice isn't loud. It doesn't have to be. It's a low, calm baritone that cuts through the buzzing of the lights and lands in my gut like a stone. It is not a request. It is a statement of fact, an instruction for the way the world is about to be. My body moves before my mind can object. My arm feels disconnected, a puppet on a string. As I reach for the door chain, Rowan is a solid, warm weight against my hip, her head tucked into the crook of my neck, her soft, even breaths are the only thing keeping me anchored to reality. I slide the chain across its track and pull the door inward. Just a few inches, a slice of the hallway, a slice of him. The smell of rain and damp city concrete floods the small gap, a scent I will forever associate with him. It's the smell of the night he saved me, the night he ruined me. He doesn't move closer. He just watches me through the narrow opening, his gaze taking in the frantic pulse in my throat, the protective way I've curved my body around our daughter. A heavy, rhythmic thudding starts from the stairwell at the far end of the hall. Thump, thump, thump! Kane Hollister's work boots taking the stairs 2 at a time. Cassian's eyes shift almost imperceptibly toward the sound, a flicker of acknowledgement. He then looks back at me and gives a slight, almost invisible shake of his head. Stay silent. He reaches into the inner pocket of his coat, his movements slow, deliberate. He's not reaching for a weapon. He pulls out a small, leather-bound card holder. From it, he slides a single, stiff, plastic card. He holds it up in the gap between the door and the frame. The logo is a stylized blue anchor intertwined with a serpent blue Mastia RX, a high-end specialty pharmaceutical supplier. "Rowan's formula," he says, his voice still low, conversational. "There was a payment processing error under one of your aliases, a flag for an unverified name. I had it rerouted through a charitable account to clear it. That's how I found you." The words are a punch to the diaphragm. He hasn't just found me. He's been here all along, an invisible hand moving pieces on a board I didn't even know I was playing on. The carefully constructed walls of my anonymity crumble into dust, the frantic moves, the cash-only jobs, the constant looking over my shoulder, all of it was a child's game of hide-and-seek against a master. A hot, bitter rage boils up from my stomach, overriding the fear. It's the fury of a cornered mother. "You had no right," I hiss, the words sharp and venomous. "You invaded her privacy, my daughter's privacy." He doesn't flinch. His gaze doesn't waver. The embers in his eyes seem to glow a little brighter. He lets a beat of silence pass, a silence that is now filled with the sound of Kane's approaching, angry footsteps. I was protecting my child. He says it so simply. 4 words. He doesn't say our child. He says my child. He lays claim to her with the same quiet, unshakable authority with which he commands a room. Time stops. The buzzing of the light, the thudding on the stairs, the revving of the engines outside, it all fades into a distant hum. The secret I have guarded with my life, the truth I have carried like a shard of glass in my heart, is no longer mine alone. He knows. Thump, thump, Kane is getting closer. I start to say, a useless denial forming on my lips. Bang, bang, bang. Kane Hollister arrives at my door. His fist crashes against the wood, making the whole frame shudder. Rowan jumps in my arms with a startled cry, her small body going rigid. Debt is debt, Mara, Kane roars from the other side. Time to pay up. Cassian doesn't even look at the door. His eyes are still locked on mine. With his free hand, he reaches out and presses the down button for the elevator beside him. The button lights up. A small, glowing promise. Kane bangs on the door again, harder this time. I'm not playing open this door, or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll... Ding. The elevator arrives again. The scarred doors scrape open. Standing inside, as still and silent as a statue, is a woman. She's dressed in a simple, severe black coat, her dark hair pulled back in a tight knot. Her face is a mask of calm professionalism. She meets Cassian's gaze, gives a single, sharp nod, and remains in the elevator, a shadow waiting for a command. Ria Sato. I remember her from the courthouse, always a few feet behind Cassian, her eyes missing nothing, his bodyguard, his wraith. With a sharp metallic click, the chain on my door slides open. My blood freezes. Cassian didn't touch it. It takes me a second to understand. He has a key. Or rather, Ria just used a tool, a bypass key, from the hallway. He could have come in at any time. The pretense of asking me to open the door was just that, a pretense. A test. The door swings inward. Cassian steps across the threshold, bringing the cold and the rain and the scent of the storm into my small, cramped world. He fills the space, his presence shrinking the room until I can barely breathe. He stops a few feet from me and holds out his hands. Not to me, to Rowan. Give her to me, he says, his voice softer now, but no less absolute. You pack what's necessary, a bag, diapers, formula, we're leaving. I recoil, pulling Rowan tighter against my chest, her small hands fist in my shirt. No, we're not going anywhere with you. Crash! A sound from downstairs, not a knock, not a bang, but the unmistakable, splintering shatter of the building's front door being kicked in. The iron jets are inside. Footsteps, heavy and numerous, begin to thunder on the first-floor landing. Cassian doesn't look away from me, just cocks his head slightly, as if listening to a distant melody. The look on his face is one of weary disappointment, the look of a man whose careful plans have been disrupted by the clumsiness of lesser men. He takes another step closer, so close I can feel the chill radiating from his damp coat. He lowers his voice, speaking in a tone that is almost a caress, yet holds the unbending strength of steel. You both belong to me, he says, the words a brand on my soul. And tonight, I'm the wall. The wall, his words hang in the air, a shield thrown up against the chaos. Before I can form a protest, Ria Sato moves. She is a blur of efficient motion, a shadow detaching itself from the elevator. She doesn't run. She glides past us into my tiny apartment. Her hand goes to the fuse box by the kitchen, a relic from the 1950s. She yanks the main breaker. The world vanishes. The buzzing yellow light in the hall dies. The flickering television in my room goes black. We are plunged into an absolute, suffocating darkness. The only sound is Rowan's hitching breath and the heavy, panicked thud of boots on the stairs below. Then, the stairwell door 2 flights down bursts open. Beams from 3, maybe 4. High-powered flashlights cut through the blackness, slicing up the stairwell. They paint frantic. Silver lines on the peeling walls, chaotic and searching. Second floor spread out. Check 2, B. Kane's voice, raw and amplified by the enclosed space. Cassian doesn't wait for my permission. He doesn't ask again. He simply steps into my personal space, his hands, large and surprisingly gentle, closing around my daughter. My body reacts with a primal, animalistic no. I twist away, my arms locking, holding Rowan in a death grip. Don't touch her. Mara. His voice is a low, urgent command in the dark. They are on the landing. Give her to me. His hands don't retreat. They stay steady, waiting. I can hear them. The iron jets, clumsy and loud, fumbling their way down the dark hall. They're at 2D, 2C. I have no choice. My arms are shaking so violently, I'm afraid I'll drop her. with a sob that rips from my throat. I make the transfer. The way he takes her stills my panic for one heart-stopping second. He doesn't fumble. He doesn't hold her like a stranger or an object. His left hand scoops her body while his right slides beneath her head, cradling her neck with a practiced, solid confidence. He pulls her against his chest in one smooth, secure motion. My God, he's done this before. This isn't a guess. He's been practicing. The realization hits me like a physical blow. He hasn't just been watching. He's been preparing. The bag, Mara, now, he orders. Whatever she needs. My limbs finally unlock. Adrenaline, sharp and metallic, floods my veins. I scramble in the dark, my hands finding the duffel bag I'd packed for my own escape. I throw in the stack of diapers, the bottles. My fingers brush the cold canister of the hypoallergenic formula, the very link that brought him here. I snatch it up. My hand hesitates, then dives under my mattress, pulling out a worn, leather-bound sketchbook. It's not money. It's the last of my film negatives, the last tangible piece of the woman I was before Rowan, before him. It's the only thing left that is mine. I shove it into the bag. Redia, I gasp. Rhea, Cashin's voice is calm. Stairs, 4 of them, 20 feet from the door and closing. Rhea's voice replies, equally calm from the hallway. The window. Cashin commands. He's already moving, not toward the elevator, not toward the door, but to the single rain-lashed window in my main room. He's at the fire escape. Rhea is right behind me as I follow him. She pulls the window open, the old sash groaning in protest. The sound is deafeningly loud. Here, a voice shouts in the hall. The beam of a flashlight pins our door. They're in 2B. Get it open. A heavy shoulder thuds against the wood. The lock splinters. Go, Cashin orders, pushing me toward the window. I scramble out onto the narrow metal platform. The rain is a cold, horizontal assault, stinging my face. Cassian is right behind me, Rowan now invisible, tucked securely inside the front of his buttoned trench coat. He is a solid, warm mass at my back. Rhea follows last, pulling the window shut behind her. Down, Cashin says, pointing. But as my foot touches the first step of the iron ladder, a flashlight beam hits us from the alley below. They had the building surrounded. They're on the fire escape, get 'em? We are trapped, above, below, and behind. Rhea doesn't hesitate. Roof, she snaps, pushing past me, climbing up. We follow, my sneakers slipping on the wet metal. We burst through the heavy roof access door onto the flat, tarred expanse. The wind up here is a living thing, a roaring monster trying to peel us from the building. The rain is a solid sheet of water. This way, Rhea yells over the gale. She's running, not toward the front, but toward the adjoining building, a dilapidated brick warehouse that shares a wall with my apartment block. No exit, I scream, my words snatched away by the wind. Rhea doesn't slow down. She's heading for a thick, 4-foot-wide maintenance conduit, a bridge of rusted metal and pipes that spans the 10-foot gap between the 2 buildings, a gutter for giants. Move, Cassian is right behind me, his hand on my back, propelling me forward. Rhea is across it in seconds, a dancer in the storm. I get halfway. My foot slips on the curved, wet metal. I cry out, my arms windmilling. The duffel bag swings wildly, throwing me off balance. I'm going to fall. A steel band locks around my waist. Cassian. He pulls me back against his front, his body an unmoving wall. He is the anchor, and I am the ship tearing itself apart in the storm. I have you, he breathes, his voice a low growl in my ear. Walk. He doesn't let go. He holds me pinned to him, his strength absolute, and side shuffles us the rest of the way across. I can feel the solid, protected warmth of my daughter pressed between his chest and my back. She makes a tiny, muffled sound, a little of surprise at the motion, and then is silent, burrowed deep inside his coat. We land on the warehouse roof. Rhea is already at the access door, a small tool in her hand. The lock clicks, and the door swings open. "Down alley access," she shouts. We plunge into the darkness of another stairwell, this one smelling of dust and dried fish. It's a spiraling cast-iron staircase that seems to go down forever. My legs are jelly, my lungs burning. Cassian is a steady presence behind me, his steps even and unhurried, as if he's merely walking to his car. We burst out into another alley, this one narrower, darker. The wail of sirens is close now, but they sound chaotic, directionless. They're blocking the street. Cassian says he'd seen it from the roof, the two dark trucks waiting to cut off any escape. Plan B. Pier 9. Rhea, he says, and it's the only word he needs. She's already moving, her voice a low, urgent murmur into a small communications device I can't even see. Harbor Light, redirect, Pier 9, North Wind, ETA 2. We run. We are no longer going away from the water. We are running toward it. We cross a street, a blur of motion between streetlights, then dive into the maze of warehouses that makes up the old Merchant's Row. My lungs are on fire. The duffel bag slams against my hip with every step. Rhea stops at a massive faux corrugated metal door, rusted and tagged with graffiti. Pier 9 is just visible in faded white paint. As we skid to a halt, the door rumbles, sliding sideways, opening just enough for us to slip through. We are inside a vast cavernous space. The air is cold, thick with the smell of diesel, rust, and the deep, briny smell of the bay. Moored in the center of the dark slip, floating like a prehistoric beast, is a ship. A decommissioned double-ended ferry, its paint peeling, its windows dark, the north wind. Rhea leads us to a small inflatable Zodiac boat tied to a piling. "In," she says. She gets in first, yanking the cord on a small, surprisingly quiet outboard motor. Cassian hands Rowan to me. The warmth of my daughter is a shock, a transfer of life. I clutch her as Cassian helps me, half lifting me into the unsteady boat. He steps in last, the boat dipping dangerously. Rhea steers us across the 20 yards of black, churning water. The rain is softer in here, the wind just a howl outside the warehouse walls. As we pull alongside the ferry, a man steps from the shadows on its deck. He is huge, broad as a refrigerator, with a face that looks like it was carved from driftwood. Jax Orloff, Cassian's second in command. He catches the line Rhea throws, lashing it to a cleat. His massive, scarred hand reaches down for me. "Ma'am," he grunts, pulling me and Rowan onto the deck as if we weigh nothing. Cassian is on board a second later. "Jax, gate me." "Boss." Jax turns to a heavy winch. He throws a lever, and with a groan of tortured metal, a heavy chain begins to pull a floating barrier across the mouth of the slip, sealing us in. The moment the barrier clangs shut, Jax hits a switch on the wall. The few dim work lights illuminating the warehouse go out. The entire pier is plunged into a darkness so complete it feels like a physical weight. The only light is the faint green and red glow from the North Wind's control cockpit. We are in the belly of the whale. A foghorn bellows from the harbor, a long, mournful cry that vibrates through the deck plates beneath my feet. It's the same sound I heard from my apartment a lifetime ago, but it's no longer a distant warning. It's a proclamation. The old life, the running, the hiding, it's over. I look at Rowan, her face pale in the ghostly green light, and then at Cassian. He's standing at the rail, looking not at me, but out at the black water. His profile a hard, unforgiving line against the fog. I didn't escape. I was captured. The line I swore I would never cross has just been dragged shut behind me. Jax leads us from the cold, rain-swept deck through a heavy steel hatch and down a short flight of stairs. The transition is instantaneous and absolute. One moment we are in a world of cold iron, churning black water, and the howling wind. The next, we are in a pocket of impossible warmth and quiet. The space isn't a ship's cabin. It's a converted section of the lower car deck, partitioned off and transformed. The air, thick with the scent of diesel outside, is clean in here, smelling of cedar, warm linen, and something vaguely like chamomile. A small, Quiet generator hums somewhere nearby, powering a string of old-fashioned Edison bulbs that cast a soft, golden glow over everything. It's a haven, a pre-built, fully stocked cage. There's a small galley kitchen built against one wall, a compact refrigerator humming beside it, a low sofa is piled with thick wool blankets, and in the corner, set up and waiting, is a brand-new, portable bassinet beside it. A small box, no, a medical kit. The label on the side reads, "Infant Respiratory and Allergenic Distress." My breath catches in my throat. This wasn't a backup plan. This was a contingency. This ferry. This room, this very kit, it has been waiting for us, for Rowan. My daughter, sensing the sudden warmth and quiet, begins to fuss in my arms, a low, tired whimper that is the prelude to a full-blown cry. Cassian is at my side instantly. "She's hungry," he says. It's not a question. I nod numbly, my mind still reeling from the sight of the medical kit. I have a bottle in the bag. "Let me," he says, taking the duffel bag from my shoulder. He moves with an unnerving, quiet competence in the small space. He finds the bottle and the last canister of formula. At the galley, he works without hesitation, scooping the powder, adding bottled water from a case under the counter. He lights a small propane stove and gently warms the bottle in a saucepan of water. I watch, frozen, as he performs this small, domestic ritual. He doesn't look like a man playing house. He looks like a man who has practiced. When the bottle is warm, he shakes a few drops onto the inside of his wrist, testing the temperature with a slight frown of concentration. The gesture is so paternal, so shockingly normal, that it breaks the spell. He turns and holds the bottle out to me. Our eyes meet over the small, white offering. The air between us crackles, thick with unspoken questions. The gold light of the bulbs catches in his dark eyes, and for a second, I see not the crime boss, not the storm, but the man from the tavern who knew the names of old lighthouses. I take the bottle, our fingers brushing. The contact is electric, a jolt of heat that has nothing to do with the warm plastic. I sink onto the sofa, my legs suddenly too weak to hold me, and guide the bottle to Rowan's lips. She latches on immediately, her small body finally relaxing against mine, her frantic hunger giving way to a soft, rhythmic sucking. While I feed her, my eyes scan the rest of our gilded cage. Taped to the wall beside the refrigerator is a nautical chart of Bayview Harbor and the surrounding inlets. It's marked with colored pins and hand-drawn lines, patrol routes, safe zones, escape vectors. Taped beside that is another piece of paper. It's a printout, a baby's feeding and sleeping schedule for a 6-month-old infant. It's generic, probably pulled from the internet, but its presence here is a screaming confession. "You knew," I whisper, my voice hoarse. "You've known for how long?" Cassian leans against the galley counter, his arms crossed over his chest, his trench coat is off, and in a simple, dark Henley, he looks less like a phantom and more like a man, a dangerously capable man. "I've known you were pregnant since you sold your grandfather's silver flatware at a pawn shop in Ventnor 14 months ago," he says, his voice devoid of emotion. "The owner is an associate. He knew it was yours. He called me." My stomach plummets. I remember that day. The shame, the desperation. I had told myself it was for a deposit on a new apartment, a fresh start. He had been there, a ghost in the transaction. "The medical bills," I say, the pieces clicking into place with sickening precision. "The charity, Blue Mast RX, Harbor Mercy, that was you." "Harbor Mercy is a legitimate foundation," he corrects me, a hint of pride in his tone. "It just happens to be one I control. When Rowan's bills were flagged under your alias, it was a simple matter to have the foundation absorb the cost and classify it as a charitable donation. It protected your privacy. It kept the collection agencies, like the one Kane works for, from getting your file." He pauses, "and it let me keep track of her health." The rage returns, cold and sharp this time. "It let you spy on us." "It let me protect you," he counters, his voice dropping. He pushes off the counter and takes a step toward me. "Mara, look at where we are. Look at what was waiting for you outside that door. Do you really think you could have outrun them forever on your own?" "That was my choice to make," I snap, my voice rising. Rowan stirs, pulling away from the bottle with a frown. I lower my voice, forcing calm into my words. That was my right, to choose a life for her away from you. He stops, just out of arm's reach. The weariness I saw in him in the hallway is back, etched into the lines around his eyes. "I'm not forcing you to marry me, Mara. I'm not asking you to be my wife. I am forcing the world to stop touching you and my daughter." The statement is a mixture of supreme arrogance and profound exhaustion. He is a king declaring the borders of his domain. "Your walls are my cage," I shoot back, the words tasting like acid. "Your protection is a prison. Don't you see that you want to build a fortress, but we'd be the prisoners inside it, not the royal family?" Before he can answer, a sharp rap on the steel hatch makes us both flinch. Jax's voice comes, muffled. "Boss, we have a problem." Cassian's jaw tightens. He gives me one last long look before turning to the hatch. Jax enters, his huge frame filling the doorway, bringing a gust of cold, damp air with him. "It's the Jets," Jax says, his voice a low rumble. "We have eyes on their clubhouse. They just got a visitor, Agent Barker from the FCMIB. Cassian's face hardens. "Barker, he's on their payroll." "Looks like it," Jax confirms. "Word is he's trading intel on federal shipping lane patrols for a free run at the southern container piers. They're escalating." Cassian turns to the nautical chart on the wall, his finger tracing a line through a narrow channel. He's no longer the conflicted father. He's the commander planning a campaign. They know we're on the water. They won't know where. Not yet. But Barker will give them access to Port Authority surveillance. We can't stay here. We move at dawn. "Where to?" Jax asks. "Marigold Slip, Cassian answers. "The old repair yard. We use the dry dock vault." Jax nods, a grim understanding on his face. "It'll be tight. They'll be watching the main channels." "We won't use the main channels." As they speak, a plan begins to form in my mind, born of desperation and a sudden, fierce need to be more than just a piece on the board. I need leverage. I need to be the hand that moves the piece. "Their money," I say, my voice cutting through their strategic planning. Both men turn to look at me. "The Iron Jets," I clarify, my confidence growing. "I know about their real books, not the ones they cook for the feds, the real ones." Cassian's eyes narrow. "How?" "Before I left," I say, the word feeling inadequate, "I took a freelance ASL gig, a last-minute thing. It was for a terrified accountant named Ezekiel Thorne. He was deaf, and he was the Iron Jet's bookkeeper. They thought because he couldn't hear or speak, he couldn't testify. They were wrong. He kept a second set of ledgers for his own protection, but he didn't write them in English. He used a private, modified version of ASL shorthand, a symbolic system only he and I understood. I can read it. I can give you their entire money laundering operation." The silence in the cabin is absolute, broken only by the soft hum of the generator and Rowan's gentle breathing as she drifts to sleep in my arms. Jax looks at Cassian, his eyebrows raised. Cassian's gaze on me is intense, searching. He takes in the new defiance in my posture, the glint of something other than fear in my eyes. He walks back toward me, stopping directly in front of the sofa. He looks down, not at me, but at our sleeping daughter. Her small face a perfect, peaceful porcelain mask. The hard lines of his face seem to soften, to melt away, leaving behind a raw, unguarded vulnerability. "I need you," he says, his voice barely a whisper, so quiet I'm not sure Jax was meant to hear it. He raises his eyes to mine, and not just because of her. The admission hangs in the air, more intimate than a kiss, more binding than a vow. He's not just claiming his child, he's admitting his own need. This is my chance, my only one. "All right," I say, my voice steady. "I'll help you. I'll translate the ledgers, but I have conditions." He waits. "First, no one dies unless it's them or us. No collateral damage, no messages sent. You neutralize them, you don't eliminate them. I will not have my daughter's safety built on a pile of bodies." He gives a slow, deliberate nod. Agreed. "Second, Watet," I continue, pressing my advantage. "When this is over, when the jets are dismantled and this Barker is exposed, Rowan and I are gone, you give us a clean break. New identities, a trust for her education, and you walk away. You let us have the peace you say you want for us." I hold my breath. This is the moment everything hinges on. He looks from me to Rowan and back again. The muscle in his jaw clenches, a silent war being waged behind his eyes. The king is being asked to give up part of his kingdom. Finally, he extends his hand. "You have my word." I look at his hand, large and calloused, a hand that has shielded me from bullets and signed orders that have probably ended lives. I shift Rowan carefully into the crook of my left arm and reach out, placing my hand in his. His grip is firm, warm, and absolute. It is a pact, a fragile, desperate truce, made on the dark, shifting waters of the bay, with the storm still raging just outside our walls. The handshake is over, the promise made. The heavy, damp reality of it settles into the small, warm cabin. Jax Orloff, satisfied with his report, gives a curt nod and disappears up the hatch, sealing us back into our quiet, lamplit world. The sudden silence is deafening, filled only by the soft shush of the ferry rocking against its moorings and the gentle hum of the generator. The rain has softened, no longer a frantic drumming, but a silken whisper against the steel hull. My daughter is a heavy, warm weight in my arms, her small body finally limp with sleep, her belly full. I carry her to the corner, to the bassinet that has been waiting for her, and gently, so gently, I lay her down. Her eyelashes are a dark fringe against her pale cheek. She is the eye of my storm, the quiet center of everything. I tuck a soft wool blanket, one I found folded at the foot of the cot, around her small frame. When I turn back, Cassian is not where I left him. He's standing by the heavy steel hatch we entered through, the one Jax just sealed. He's not resting. He's working. His fingers are probing the thick rubber gasket that lines the frame, testing its integrity. He finds a small section near the hinge that is slightly loose, and with a focused, methodical patience, he presses it back into its groove, his broad shoulder pushing against the steel until it's flush. He's securing the perimeter. Even here, in his own hidden sanctuary, he is restless. He is a man who checks the locks, again and again. The golden light of the Edison bulbs plays across the hard planes of his face, softening the sharp line of his jaw. He's no longer the phantom in the rain-soaked trench coat, nor the kingpin giving orders. In this light, in this simple dark shirt, he's just a man, trapped on a boat with a woman he barely knows and a child he's never held. The words escape me before I can stop them. They are quiet, surfacing from a place of deep, aching exhaustion. "I'm sorry." He stops his work, but he doesn't turn. His shoulder is still braced against the hatch. "For what?" "For running," I whisper. "That morning, from the tavern, I just left. I didn't say anything." He's silent for a long moment. The only sound is the gentle creak of the hull. He finally turns to face me. His eyes are dark, shadowed, and filled with a weariness that mirrors my own. "You saw the message on my phone," he states. "It's not a question." I nod, wrapping my arms around myself. Tri-county, assets, surveillance. I knew what it meant. I knew what you were. "And you were terrified," he finishes for me. "Yes," I breathe. "Of you, of that world. I couldn't bring a child into that. I couldn't be a part of it." He looks down at his hands, large and scarred from a life I can only imagine. He flexes them, as if testing their strength. I was afraid, too. Mara. My breath catches. It's the last thing I ever expected to hear him say. "You." He finally looks up, and his gaze is so raw, so unguarded. It's like looking into an open wound. "My father, he was a cold man. A man who saw family as a dynasty. He saw his children as assets, just like the ones on that phone. He moved us like pieces on a board. He demanded loyalty, but he gave no warmth. He built walls, just like you said. And when I held Rowan tonight, his voice breaks, just for a fraction of a second, a tiny crack in the marble. When I held her, all I could think was that I was doing the exact same thing. I was becoming him. He takes a half step toward me, his confession hanging in the small space between us, as tangible as smoke. I'm terrified of being him. We stand there, 2 feet apart, a gulf of 15 months and 1,000 unspoken fears separating us. The air is thick, charged with the generator's hum and the soft, insistent patter of the rain. We are so close I can feel the heat radiating from his body. I can see the pulse beating in his throat. He is not a storm. He is the man in the eye of it, holding his breath, waiting for the walls to collapse. My hand moves on its own. It seems to float through the warm air, rising, searching. I don't think, I just act. I reach out and lay my fingers gently on his wrist, just above the watch he wears. His skin is warm, solid. He freezes. Every muscle in his body goes rigid. He looks down at my hand as if it's a foreign object, a weapon he doesn't recognize. He doesn't pull away. He doesn't move closer. He just lifts his gaze to mine. His eyes are asking the question his pride will not let him voice. Are you sure? I don't answer with words. I slide my hand from his wrist up his forearm, feeling the coiled strength there, the tension beneath the skin. I don't stop until my palm rests flat against his chest. His heart is a hammer beneath my hand. Thump, thump, thump. Not fast, like a frightened bird, but strong, deep, and steady. The rhythm of the tide. I'm not afraid. Not of him. Not in this moment. He covers my hand with his, pressing my palm harder against his chest, as if anchoring himself to me. And then, slowly, agonizingly slowly, he leans in. The kiss is not a collision. It is not the desperate, frantic grasping we shared at the Far Pier Tavern, a night fueled by adrenaline and the proximity of death. This is something else entirely. It is a surrender. It is a question. His lips are soft, hesitant, tasting of the rain he ran through and the salt of the sea air. It is a kiss that doesn't take, but asks. I answer by rising on my toes, deepening the contact, my other hand coming up to rest on his shoulder. It's a permission, an acceptance. A low sound rumbles in his chest, a sigh of relief or resignation, and the tension breaks. His other hand comes up, not to grab, but to cradle. His fingers slide into my hair, tilting my head, while his other arm wraps around my back, pulling me flush against him. He holds me, just holds me, his hand a solid, warm shield over my spine, pressing our heartbeats together until they are one rhythm. The kiss deepens, becoming a slow, deliberate exploration, a wordless conversation. It is warm, and it is desperate, but it is, above all, safe. It feels like the first honest breath I've taken in over a year. We are shedding our fear more than our clothes. This isn't about passion, it's about proximity. It's about two solitudes, finally, truly touching. We break apart, but only by inches, resting our foreheads together. His eyes are closed. The rain on the hull and the soft creak of the ferry against the pilings are the only sounds. If this all goes wrong tomorrow, he whispers, his breath warm against my lips. If Marigold's slip is a trap and Barker brings the whole bureau down on us, I would still choose this. Right now, I would still choose you. The words shatter the last of my defenses. This man, who commands a hidden empire, who moves shadows and ships, is confessing his own vulnerability. He's giving me the one thing he values most, his truth. I don't have words to answer him. Instead, I wrap my arms around his neck, pulling him down, and hold him. I bury my face in the crook of his neck, breathing in the scent of him, the rain and cedar and the faint, clean smell of soap. It is a confirmation, a compact. It is not just the physical confirmation of a shared past, it is a new agreement, a promise that we are in this together, at least for tonight. A small sound, a soft, wet sigh, comes from the corner. Rowan? We don't jump apart like guilty teenagers. We pull back, but we move as one. We turn, still connected. His arm still around my waist, my hand still on his chest. We turn together and look at our daughter. She is stirring, her small fist rubbing against her eye, her breathing pattern changing as she surfaces from a deep sleep. I move first, but he is right with me. I kneel by the bassinet and he crouches beside me. So close our shoulders brush. "Shh, baby girl," I murmur, smoothing my hand over her small, warm head. "She's cold," he says, his voice a low rumble. His hand finds the edge of the second wool blanket on the sofa, the one I hadn't used. He lifts it, his movements economical and sure, and drapes it over the top of the one I'd already placed, doubling the warmth. He doesn't just drop it, he tucks the edges in, his large, scarred fingers moving with a surprising, gentle dexterity. We stay there for a minute, kneeling in the golden light, a silent, two-person guard around the bassinet. Rowan settles, sinking back into a deep, warm sleep. We have, without a word, just co-parented for the first time. The adrenaline from the escape, the tension of the deal, the emotional peak of the last few minutes, it all drains out of me at once, leaving a profound, bone-deep exhaustion. I sway, and his hand is instantly on my arm, steadying me. "You need to sleep," he says. It's not an order, it's a diagnosis. He helps me to my feet and guides me to the narrow, fold-down cot built into the ferry's wall. I sit, my body too heavy to protest. He takes the last remaining blanket and drapes it over my shoulders. I lie down, my back to the room, facing the wall. I am acutely aware of him, of his presence in the small space. I hear him move. I expect to feel the cot dip beside me. I expect the warmth of his body at my back. Instead, I hear the sound of him settling, not on the cot with me, but on the hard, narrow bench of the sofa, on the other side of the cabin. I risk a glance over my shoulder. He's lying on his back, fully clothed, his arms crossed over his chest. He has taken the spot closest to the hatch. He has placed himself between us and the only door. He is the wall. He's not taking what I offered. He's honoring the boundary. He's respecting the space, even as he claims it. I close my eyes, the gentle rocking of the north wind or a cradle in the dark. I must have slept, a deep, dreamless sleep, because the next thing I know, the quality of the light in the cabin has changed. The rain has stopped. A thin, copper-colored line of light is slicing through a gap in the blackout curtain over a porthole. It's dawn. I turn over. Cassian is not on the sofa. He's standing by the porthole, peering through the tiny gap, his body tense and alert, already scanning the water. He turns his head, sensing I'm awake. His eyes meet mine across the small cabin. Nothing is said. Nothing has to be. The deal I made last night that I would leave when this is over still stands, but something new and irrevocable has been forged in the dark. We are intimate. We are allies, and as the dawn breaks, we are awake, alert, and ready for the war that is coming. The muffled, low-frequency vibration of the north wind's engines is the only thing that proves we are moving. We slip the mooring at Pier 9 under the cover of a thick, pre-dawn fog, a ghost ship piloted by a phantom. Cassian didn't take the main channel. He navigated a maze of forgotten industrial canals and silty inlets, routes that haven't been on any official chart since the Second World War. Marigold Slip is not a harbor, it's a boneyard. The rusted, skeletal hulls of long-dead tugboats list in the shallow water, their decks tilted like tombstones. The entire yard is dominated by the colossal, A-frame structure of the main slipway, a railway built to haul vessels from the water. It smells of creosote, rust, and the metallic tang of decay. Jax moors us against a rotting timber pier. "The yard is quiet," he rumbles, securing the lines. We bought this property 5 years ago through a shell. It's been under renovation ever since. Rhea, you take Rowan. Cash in orders. His voice all business. Foreman's office. North side. It's heated. Maintain overwatch on the gate. Rhea nods, taking my bundled daughter from me with a practiced ease that both comforts and terrifies me. I watch them go, a piece of my soul walking away. You're with me, Cashin says to me. He leads me into the main winch house, a vast cathedral-like space filled with enormous gears and steel cables thick as my arm. The air is cold and smells of thick, black grease. He doesn't stop. He leads me down a narrow iron staircase into the foundation, into the guts of the machine. He opens a heavy, soundproof door, and we are in a small, windowless room, once used as a darkroom for developing marine blueprints. A man sits on a stool under a single bare bulb, his shoulders hunched. He looks up, and his eyes, wide with terror, find me. Ezekiel Thorne? He's older than I remember from the courthouse, his face a roadmap of sleepless nights. But when he sees me, a jolt of recognition, of pure, desperate relief, flashes across his face. He's a prisoner here, but at least he recognizes his new cellmate. He's been here for 36 hours, Cassian says quietly. My team retrieved him from his apartment half an hour before an Iron Jet cleanup crew arrived. Ezekiel doesn't wait. He points to 3 thick, black binders on a metal workbench. He begins to sign, his hands flying, sharp and desperate. They were going to kill me. They knew I kept copies. They said I was a loose end. I sign back, my hands feeling stiff. Rusty, show me. For the next hour, the world ceases to exist outside that concrete box. It's just me, Ezekiel, and the story of a criminal empire told in a language no one else can read. His shorthand is brilliant, a mix of ASL, accounting symbols, and a private glyph system he invented. It's a Rosetta Stone of their corruption. Blue Gull Freight, I sign, translating for Cassian, who stands in the corner, absorbing everything. It's their wash cycle. They lease container ships, file manifests for salvage scrap metal, and invoice shell companies in Delaware. But the scrap is never loaded. The ships sail empty. They're just moving the invoices. They're creating a paper trail for money that doesn't exist, and it's all co-signed by Agent Barker. Ezekiel nods frantically, flipping a page. He points to a series of numbers, a routing code. Not just Barker, look. He taps a name written in his symbolic code. My blood turns to ice. The Tri-County Protective Commission, I say out loud, the name from Cashin's phone. The name that made me run. It's not a real commission, is it? No, Cassian says, his voice a low growl. It's Barker's personal bank, a shell company he created, disguised as a state authority, to receive his payoffs. This is it. This is the link that connects the street-level thuggery of the Iron Jets to the high-level corruption of the FCMIB. This is the whole case. I need to copy this, I say, my mind racing. A phone picture is too risky. It can be traced, deleted. My eyes land on my duffel bag, the one I'd packed in a panic. I'd lied to myself. I hadn't sold everything. I had kept one thing. I pull out my old Pentax K1000. It feels heavy, real, an extension of my old self. There's a red safe light in this room, and you. I look at Ezekiel. You have film for blueprints, don't you? He nods, pointing to a small, climate-controlled cabinet. It's black and white, high contrast. Perfect. I screw in the red bulb, plunging the room into an eerie, crimson glow. My hands, which were shaking, are now rock steady. I load the film, by feel, by memory. I am back in my element. Click, whir. The sound of the shutter is crisp, clean, click, whir, page by page. I photograph the ledgers, the Blue Gull manifests, the Tri-County routing numbers, the signature stamps. As I work, Cassian is a quiet presence in the corner, his comms earpiece in. Rhea, the winch house server, I need the ghost drive installed. We provide a key, not a battering ram. I want any clean agent who looks to find a wide-open, unlocked door. I hear Rhea's voice, tinny and distant, in his ear. Affirmative. Drive is hot. I'm in. I'm on the last roll of film, the final page detailing the payment schedule, when Ria's voice cuts through the quiet, sharp and urgent. Boss, movement, North Gate, black Ford Explorer, government plates, and a red pickup truck. It's Hollister. Cashin goes utterly still. Barker, he's early. He looks at me, his face an unreadable mask in the red light. Finish that roll, Jax. He speaks into his comm. Lockdown. Seal the vault. He doesn't wait for a reply, and he's up the iron stairs. Gone. I hear the heavy thud of his footsteps on the metal floor above us. A second later, a deep, hydraulic hiss echoes through the room. A 3-inch thick steel wall slides out from the foundation, grating against its track, and slams shut, sealing the stairwell. We are in the vault, me and Ezekiel. The room is pitch black, the safe light now blocked by the door, then a soft click, and a different red light comes on a small battery-powered emergency lamp on Ria's belt. She's in here with us. She hadn't left. And in her arms, Rowan stirs. The sudden cold of the sealed, underground room has woken her. She lets out a low, fussy whimper, a sound that seems as loud as a siren in the concrete box. I'm across the room in a heartbeat. Taking my daughter from Ria's arms, I turn my back to the steel door, tucking Rowan's face deep into the wool of my sweater, pressing her against my heart. Shh, shh, my love, shh. I whisper, my breath warming her ear, my body swaying in the old, familiar rhythm. It's okay, Mama's here. Shh. I pray the sound of my own voice, the beat of my heart, is enough to muffle her cry, to keep her from betraying our location. Above us, we hear the muffled sounds of their voices. Kane Hollister, loud and abrasive. Just a friendly security check, Vale making sure you're not harboring any fugitives. Then Barker's voice, smoother, colder, and far more dangerous. We have a credible tip, Mr. Vale, that the Linden woman and her child are on this property. You know how it looks, harboring a material witness. We just want to talk to her. Then Cassian's, God, his voice, it's like nothing is wrong. It's the sound of a man discussing the weather. Calm, bored, almost welcoming. Agent Barker, what a surprise. You're welcome to look around. We're a bit of a mess. Just taking delivery on a new set of propeller components for the Adriatic refit. Jax, show the agent the manifest and the components. We hear their footsteps clump away, moving from the winch house toward the slipway, where an old cargo ship is sitting in the dry dock. He's luring them away, buying us time. He's running a legal trap, Ria whispers, her voice flat. She's at a small terminal in the corner, the one that controls the vault door, her fingers flying over a small, encrypted laptop. What do you mean? I whisper back, my lips moving against Rowan's hair. The Adriatic refit contract, the lease for this dry dock, it's filed under and signed by the Tri-County Protective Commission. Barker is currently standing on a property he leased to himself to inspect a shipment he paid for with his own laundered money. He can't seize anything without implicating himself. It's a spider's web, and Cassian just invited the spider to admire it. Rowan has settled, her breathing evening out. I have to move. I rip the finished film from the camera. I have this, but I can't send film. Ezekiel is already ahead of me. He points to the corner, a large flatbed scanner, the kind used for oversized blueprints. He hits the power. The bright white light of the scanner bar flashes to life, a stark contrast to the tactical red of Ria's lamp. Hurry, Ria whispers. I feed the most critical pages from the ledger onto the glass. The blue gull routes, the Tri-County payment schedule. The scanner hums, agonizingly slow. I save the high-resolution files to a thumb drive. Who? Ria asks, holding out her hand. Inspector Ari Mendoza, I say, the name coming fast. FCMIB, Internal Affairs. I signed for him once. A disability hearing for a veteran. He's clean. He despises dirty agents. Ria takes the drive, slots it into her laptop. Her fingers become a blur. She's not just uploading, she's refracting it, bouncing the signal through a dozen anonymous nodes before dumping the encrypted packet into a secure, public key-protected inbox. I know Mendoza monitors. A digital dead drop. Upload complete. The file is gone, the trap is set. We hear the footsteps again, louder this time, angrier. They're back at the winch house, right above our heads. This is clever, Vale. Barker's voice snarls, all pretense of civility gone. Real clever. But it doesn't matter. We know she's in here. We know you have the kid. Tearing this place apart will be messy, but I'm sanctioned. Or maybe we just take the kid. Leverage. You know how it is. A father's weakness. A beat of pure Arctic silence. Then Cassian's voice, no longer calm, no longer a man. It is the sound of a glacier breaking. Jax, Rhea. Package is mobile. Execute exit plan. Now. The calm in Rhea's ear chirps. It's Jax. Gate is compromised iron jet truck. Horizontal block. We're penned in. We're trapped. Rhea doesn't flinch. She looks at me, at Rowan, at Ezek. Hold on, tightly. She slams her fist onto a large, red button on the winch control panel. Not an alarm, a klaxon, a piercing, deafening beep that is followed by the roar of a massive diesel engine firing to life. It's the overhead crane. The entire building is shaking. The maintenance channel, she yells over the din. She kicks open a low, steel hatch in the floor I hadn't even seen. It opens onto a narrow, black, flooded tunnel. Go now. He gave us 20 seconds. Above us, I hear a sound I will never forget. The high-pitched scream of tortured metal, the snap of a braking system being released, and a sound like the sky falling. A catastrophic, deafening crash of steel on concrete. What was that? I scream, clutching Rowan to my chest, my feet dangling over the black water. The overhead crane, Rhea yells, pushing me and Azek into the channel. The water is freezing. Up to my waist. She just dropped 10 tons of steel I-beams directly between the winch house and the main gate. They're blocked in. He's blocked out. He bought us the window. Move. We are half swimming, half running through the dark, narrow waterway. It's the slipway's drainage culvert. It stinks of oil and dead water. But it's an escape. We spill out into a wider, secondary canal just outside the yard's perimeter. A small, flat-bottom boat is waiting, its motor idling, nearly silent. Jax. He hauls us in like sacks of flour, me and Rowan, then Ezekiel, then Rhea. The motor roars, and we are speeding away, a gray streak in the gray fog, leaving the sirens and the shouting behind. I look back. The Marigold slip is chaos. The main gate is completely, impossibly blocked by a mountain of twisted steel beams. The iron jet truck and Barker's SUV are trapped inside. And Cassian is nowhere to be seen. He stayed. He's in there with them. He sacrificed his queen, his rook, and himself, just to get the pawn to safety. Where are we going? I ask, my teeth chattering so hard I can barely speak. Rowan is crying, a thin, terrified wail. Somewhere public, Rhea says, her face grim, her eyes scanning the downtown skyline. Somewhere they can't start a fight without 1,000 witnesses. She points to a massive, glittering dome of light on top of a distant parking garage, a bubble of civilization in the concrete jungle. The Glasshouse Conservatory. They're holding their annual botanical gala tonight. We're crashing the party. The service tunnel of the Glasshouse Conservatory smells like damp earth, fertilizer, and an almost sickeningly sweet wave of jasmine. It's a jarring, violent contrast to the oily, frigid water of the canal we just escaped. We are no longer rats in a drainage pipe. We are rats in a terrarium. Rhea moves with a chilling familiarity, as if she's been here a dozen times. She guides me, Rowan clutched to my chest, and a pale, trembling Ezekiel through a series of concrete corridors, up a freight elevator, and into a steamy, quiet room marked horticultural staff only. It's a nursery, a staging ground for the main event. Trays of orchids and ferns line heated tables. The air is warm, humid, and quiet. Ezekiel, Rhea signs, her movements sharp and clear. Sit here, do not move, you're safe. He collapses onto a stool, nodding, his eyes wide, just grateful to be still. Mara, Rhea says, turning to me. She checks her comms ear cup. Inspector Mendoza is 10 minutes out. He's coming clean. IA escort. He received your package. He needs the physical copy. She means the film. My body is shaking, a deep, uncontrollable tremor from the cold and the adrenaline. Rowan, sensing my fear, begins to fuss, but my real fear, the one clawing at my throat, isn't about Mendoza. Where is he, I demand, my voice a raw whisper. Rhea, Cassian, he stayed. He dropped those beams. I can't finish the sentence. He trapped himself in with them. The boss has his own exit strategy, Rhea says, her voice flat, but I catch a flicker of something in her eyes. Uncertainty. She's worried. He created the 20-second window for us. He knew what he was doing. You mean he's a distraction, I say, the word tasting like ash. He's a sacrifice. He's a tactician, she corrects me, just as the staff door clicks open. I spin, my heart seizing, expecting Kane or Barker, expecting a fight. Why, hi! It's him. He's not in his suit from the pier. He's wearing a different one, a darker charcoal gray, with a crisp white shirt, no tie. His hair is damp, combed back from his forehead. He isn't bloody. He isn't bruised. He looks like he just stepped out of a town car. He looks like he belongs here. I just stare. The relief is so sudden, so violent, it makes my knees buckle. He's alive. He crosses the room in 2 strides, his eyes on me, on Rowan. You're safe, he says. It's not a question. It's a confirmation. How I breathe. The slip yard was built over the old harbor master's tunnels. They connect to the main city steam system, he says, as if explaining a simple commute. I was in the East End service garage before they even figured out how to move the first beam. He had never been trapped. He had simply chosen a different door. He turns to Rhea, Mendoza. 10 minutes and coming to the main entrance, and she replies. Cassian nods. He looks at me, at my soaked, filthy clothes, my hair plastered to my head with canal water, my bare, ruined sneakers. You can't meet him like this. He nods to a heavy garment bag hanging from a hook. Rhea is already unzipping it. The Harbor Mercy Foundation is a platinum sponsor of this gala, Cassian explains, his voice dry. We have a hospitality suite. Rhea brought a change. For both of us. I look at the dress she pulls out. It's velvet, a deep, impossible shade of plum. It's beautiful. It's absurd. Go, he says, gesturing to a small, private bathroom. We need to blend in. We are guests. We are here to support the city's botanical future. I feel like a doll, being moved and dressed for a play I don't understand. I change in the small, tiled room. The dress slides on, the velvet soft and heavy against my skin, instantly warming me. It fits. Of course it fits. A small, hysterical laugh bubbles in my throat. He knew my size, just like he knew Rowan's formula. I step out, barefoot, my wet hair pulled back in a knot. Cassian is talking to Rhea, his back to me. The hard copies are the only leverage. He's saying, Mendoza needs them to corroborate the digital. Rhea sees me. Her eyes widen, just a fraction. Cassian stops, turning to see what she's looking at. He stops. He just stops. His mouth, which was in the middle of a word, closes. His eyes, the color of warm whiskey, move from my face, down the line of my throat, over the velvet that clings to my body, and down to my bare feet on the tile. He doesn't move. He doesn't speak. It's not a leer. It's a moment of pure, unguarded appreciation. It's the look from the tavern, magnified by 1,000. He swallows. A small, visible motion, before he finally finds his voice. Rhea, find her some shoes. No time, Rhea says, her focus back. Mendoza is here, and we have a problem. Barker's SUV just pulled up out front, and Kane Hollister was seen by the catering entrance. They're all here, the hunters and the hunted, all converging on this glass bubble of light. Rowan, I say, my voice tight, I can't leave her. "She's safest here," Cassian says, his voice now a hard, cold command. "Ezekiel, you stay with her. Lock this door from the inside. Do not open it for anyone but me or Rhea." Ezekiel nods, his face pale, but he moves to the bassinet, placing himself between her and the door, a silent, terrified guardian. "Rhea, you have the perimeter. Stay in this wing. No one gets in or out," Cassian orders. He turns to me. "We're going to meet our guest, and we are going to do it in plain sight." He holds out his arm. I take it, my bare feet cold on the floor. He leads me out of the nursery, through a hallway masked by a curtain of hanging ferns, and into the main conservatory. The world explodes. It's a cavern of glass and light. 1,000 pinprick fairy lights are strung through the canopy of massive, 10-foot-tall fiddle-leaf figs. A string quartet is playing a slow, sad waltz on a dais draped in white linen. Hundreds of people in tuxedos and glittering gowns drift between sculptures made of orchids, their laughter tinkling like the champagne flutes in their hands. We, the drenched, hunted refugees, are now part of the exhibit. "Blend in," Cassian murmurs, his hand sliding from my arm to the small of my back. He guides me, not toward the entrance, but toward the music. "What are you doing?" I hiss, trying to pull back. "Blending." He doesn't give me a choice. He turns, pulling me with him, and suddenly we are on the small, polished wooden dance floor. He pulls me close, his hand a solid, warm pressure on my back, his other hand enveloping mine. We are dancing. It's the most insane, surreal moment of my life. My bare feet are moving against the polished wood. His body is a solid wall of heat and tailored wool. And we are swaying to a waltz while murderers hunt us in a room full of flowers. "Breathe, Mara," he whispers, his lips close to my ear. His breath is warm. "You're a guest. You're bored. You're listening to the music." "They're going to see us," I stammer, my eyes darting frantically over the crowd. "Good," he says. "That's the point." He pulls me a fraction closer. Barker thinks I'm a fugitive. He'll want to arrest me quietly. Mendoza thinks I'm an informant. He'll want to protect me. We're about to find out who has more control of the board. I rest my forehead against his suit jacket for a second, trying to find a single, solid point in a world that is spinning. I smell the cedar, the rain, the man. "You were good today," he murmurs, his voice a low vibration against my skin. "With the camera, with Ezekiel. You were calm. You didn't panic." I was terrified, I admit. "You were focused. There's a difference." He holds me, and we just move to the music. That dream of yours, the studio. My head snaps up. "What?" "The photo studio? By the water? Portraits of the dock workers?" He recites. The words I spoke in the tavern, a lifetime ago. It's not a dream. "Cassian, this is not the time to It's the only time," he says, his gaze intense. "The money from Blue Gull, the assets we're about to take from Barker. It's dirty, but when the government seizes it and then releases it through legal channels, it becomes clean. We'll use it. We'll build your studio, a legitimate business, money from the Harbor Mercy Foundation, a grant for documenting Bayview's maritime history." He's not just making a promise. He's outlining a business plan. He's offering me the one thing I thought I'd lost forever, my old life, my own name. My gaze flickers past his shoulder. Scanning the crowd, I see a waiter in a red vest, pushing a cart of champagne flutes. I see a flash of ink on his neck. My blood runs to ice. "Cassian, 9 o'clock, red vest." He doesn't turn. He doesn't stiffen. He just nods, his hand on my back pressing me a little tighter. I see him, Kane, and at the main entrance. I look. The music has stopped. Agent Barker is standing on the dais, flanked by 2 men in suits. He's holding a microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, pardon the interruption." Barker's voice booms, smooth and oily. "We apologize for the disturbance. We have federal business. We are looking for this man." A spotlight hits us. We are pinned. The dancers around us gasp and scatter, forming a wide circle. Cassian Vale, Barker says, stepping off the stage, walking toward us. You're under arrest for obstruction of a federal investigation, destruction of evidence, and aiding a known fugitive. It's the trap. He's using his badge in front of 1,000 witnesses to take us. That won't be necessary. Agent Barker, a new voice, cold and sharp, cuts through the room. A second group of men, these ones in dark tactical vests under their jackets, are converging from the side. At their head is a man I recognize, his face sharp, his eyes intelligent. Ari Mendoza. Inspector, Barker stammers, his face going pale. Agent Barker, Mendoza says, his voice flat, holding up a warrant. You are relieved of your duties. You and your associates are under arrest for conspiracy, wire fraud, and accepting bribes from the Iron Jet crew. It's a coup, a public, bloodless coup. Barker's men tense, but they're outnumbered by Mendoza's tactical team. It's over. Barker freezes, his face a mask of disbelief. But my eyes are not on Barker. They're on Kane. During the confrontation, he had melted back, away from the spotlight, and he's not looking at the arrest. He's looking at the staff-only door, the nursery. He knows it's over. He knows he's going down, and he's going to burn the world down with him. No, I whisper. Before I can scream, he shoves the heavy champagne cart over. It crashes with a sound like a bomb, glass shattering, women screaming. In the chaos, he lunges, disappearing through the staff door. Rowan! My scream tears from my throat. I run, shoving people out of my way. I burst through the door. Ezekiel is on the floor, cowering. Kane is there, and he has the bassinet. He snatches it, lifting it up, holding it in front of his chest like a shield. He's trapped. Mendoza's agents are right behind me. Rhea is blocking the other exit. He's wild-eyed, a cornered animal. Get back, he screams, his voice cracking. I'll drop her. He hasn't hurt her. He's just holding the carrier. Rowan, startled by the sudden movement, lets out a wail. I expect Cassian, who is right behind me, to lunge. I expect a tackle, a fight. He does something smarter. He doesn't move toward Kane. He moves past him, in one fluid, powerful motion. He crosses the small room and plants himself in front of the only other door, the one leading to the outside terrace. He blocks the exit. He becomes the wall. Kane, his escape route cut off, turns, confused, his eyes darting between Cassian and the agents in the other doorway. It's the only opening Rhea needs. She's been a shadow on the wall, and now she strikes. She moves in from Kane's blind side. Her hand doesn't go for his weapon or his arm. It goes for the bassinet. She grabs the handle in a two-handed grip, twists and yanks. A perfect, non-violent disarm. Kane is left empty-handed, his shield gone, his mouth open in a soundless oh. It took less than 3 seconds. He deflates, the fight, the panic, it all drains out of him. He sags as Mendoza's agents swarm him, forcing him to his knees, his face pressed against the humid, tile floor. I scramble to Rhea, who is already checking the carrier. My heart is a hummingbird in my throat. Rowan is crying, a full-throated, angry wail at being so rudely jostled, but she is fine. I pull her out, her small body warm and solid, and bury my face in her neck, breathing in the scent of her. She is safe. She is unharmed. She is alive. I look up, my eyes blurred with tears. Cassian is watching me, his chest heaving, his face pale beneath the tan. He's not looking at the agents, or at Kane, or at Barker, who is being led away in cuffs. He's looking only at us. The air in the nursery is thick with the smell of ozone, adrenaline, and damp potting soil. My daughter's cries are the only real sound in a world that is fractured into 1,000,000 pieces. I'm clutching her to my chest, my body a shield, my mind a blank slate of pure, animalistic terror. Then, the world outside the small room comes rushing back in. The scraping of chairs, the whimpers of the gala guests, the sharp, authoritative commands of Mendoza's team. Get him up! Get them all up! Ari Mendoza steps into the nursery, his face a grim, professional mask. He doesn't look at me or Cassian. He walks past us to where Agent Barker is being held, his face pressed to the floor by two tactical agents. Mendoza crouches, his movements precise, and personally snaps the handcuffs on Barker's wrists. Agent Michael Barker. Mendoza's voice is cold, formal, cutting through the humidity. You are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. He reads him his rights, not in the chaotic glass dome, but here, in the small, steamy staff room, surrounded by trays of infant orchids. It's an execution, not an arrest. He stands, retrieves Barker's phone and badge, and drops them into an evidence bag. He finally turns, his eyes landing on me. "Miss Linden," he says, his voice softening only a fraction. "The digital packet you sent was the key. But to make this stick, to keep him from ever seeing daylight, I need the physical source, the ledgers, the film." Cassian is still by the exit, a living statue. He hasn't moved. He's just been watching me, watching Rowan. He's not in cuffs, but he's not free. He's in purgatory, a king with no kingdom, waiting for the judgment of a man who, an hour ago, was his enemy. His hands are empty, hanging loose at his sides. He is, for the first time, completely vulnerable, and he's letting me see it. This is my moment. The fear is still there, a cold knot in my stomach, but something else is rising with it. The woman who ran, who hid, who paid in cash and lived in shadows. She's gone. I am Rowan's mother. I am Ezekiel's voice, and I am the only one in this room who holds the other half of the puzzle. I shift Rowan to my hip, settling her, my voice clear and steady, cutting through the small room. "You'll get them, Inspector, but I have terms." Mendoza's eyebrows rise. "Wasn't expecting this. You're not in a position to negotiate. Miss Linden, you're a material witness." "I'm the only witness," I counter, my gaze unwavering. "Ezekiel Thorne, the man in there." I nod to the main room where Jax is now guarding him. "Is a protected source. My translation of his work is proprietary. Without me, that film is just a collection of meaningless symbols. So, yes, I have terms." Cassian doesn't move, but I see the corner of his mouth tick up. Not a smile, just acknowledgement. "Go on," Mendoza says, his voice tight. "First," and I say, "Ezekiel Thorne gets full, permanent federal protection, a new name, a new life. Far from here. He's a victim, not a criminal." Mendoza nods. "That's reasonable. Done." "Second, see," I continue, my voice gaining strength. "The Tri-County Protective Commission. I want it dismantled, not just investigated. I want its assets frozen, its name struck from every state charter. I want its entire function exposed as a fraud. The name itself is a sick joke, and I want the joke to be over." "We're already moving on its accounts," Mendoza says, "but a full dissolution is a complex legal, "You have the evidence." I cut him off. "Use it." "And third," I say, my voice dropping, the anger from my own life fueling the words, "this investigation, it's going to be big. It will splash on every newspaper. I want the harbor families, the dock workers, the service staff, the people Barker and the Jets squeezed kept out of it. No media feeding frenzy. No reporters hounding the women who work at the Salt and Steam. Asking what they knew. You will focus your narrative on the men in charge, not the people they preyed on." Mendoza is silent for a long moment, studying me. He's recalculating. I am no longer just the translator. I am, in this moment, the voice of Bayview. "That," he says finally, "is a matter of how we frame the press release. But, Anati, in principle, I agree. We're after the sharks, Miss Linden, not the minnows." "Then you'll get your film," I say. "There's one more shark, Mara," Mendoza says quietly. He glances at Cassian. "The data on those drives doesn't just indict Barker. It implicates the entire Mariners Gate syndicate. Your operation, Mr. Vale. The Blue Gull Freight Manifests. Your signature is on the original lease agreements. This is it. The other shoe." I turn to Cassian. He hasn't moved, but his eyes are on me. He knows I still hold the power to burn him down, right alongside Barker. My promise to him to leave feels 1,000 miles away. Cassian finally speaks. He doesn't address Mendoza. He addresses me. "He's right," he says, his voice a low, calm rumble. Then he turns his head, meeting Mendoza's gaze. "So here is my offer. Inspector, my term." He steps forward, into the center of the room. He's no longer the vulnerable man in the corner. He's the commander, offering a treaty. Mariner's Gate will plead guilty to 3 counts of customs violations and failure to report, contingent on the Tri-County indictments. We will voluntarily surrender our gray shipping lanes, the ones we run with flags of convenience to federal receivership for the duration of your investigation. We will open our books, all of them, to an independent auditor of your choosing. My organization will be restructured from the top down as a fully compliant, legitimate logistics and port security firm. Mendoza is stunned into silence. This is a bigger prize than he could have imagined. "You'd just give it up?" Mendoza asks, incredulous. "Your entire enterprise?" "I am cutting all ties to illicit finance. All of them," Cassian says, and his eyes find mine. "And I know this is the real promise. This is not for Mendoza. This is for me. I'm cutting the rod out. Inspector, I'm offering you the knife." "In exchange for what?" Mendoza asks, his voice suspicious. "Immunity." "No," Cassian says, "in exchange for a single, non-negotiable condition." He gestures with his chin to me and to the child in my arms. Her name and her daughter's name are never mentioned. They are never entered into a single police report. They are not in the witness list. They are not in the official record. As of this moment, Mara Linden and Rowan Linden do not exist. They were never at Marigold Slip. They were never here. The evidence you received came from an anonymous, encrypted source. That is the only story. You will protect them. You will make them invisible. And in return, you will get my entire world on a silver platter. The room is silent. The string quartet outside, in a cruel stroke of irony, has started playing again. A soft, gentle melody that floats in, a soundtrack to the end of an empire. Mendoza looks at me. At the film canister Rhea is now holding. He looks at Cassian, a man offering him a victory that will define his career. "In principle," Mendoza says slowly, "that is an agreement we can work with. We protect our witnesses." The tension in the room finally snaps. It's over. I feel my shoulders sag, the weight of 15 months of running, of hiding, suddenly lifting. I lean back against the wall, my legs weak. "Good," Mendoza says, turning to his team. "Get Barker and Hollister processed. Seal this wing. I want forensics to sweep every—" "Inspector," Cassian interrupts, his voice sharp, losing its calm. "We're not finished," Mendoza says, turning back. "This deal is fine, but you're both making a mistake if you think this ends with Barker." "What do you mean?" I ask, my newfound relief evaporating. "Barker was a puppet. The Iron Jets are amateurs, thugs for hire," Mendoza says. "We've been running surveillance on a third party for months, the real investor, the one who's been funding Barker, funding the Jets, trying to start a war to destabilize your syndicate. Mr. Vale, and buy up your roots for pennies on the dollar." Cassian's face, which had relaxed, is now granite. Helena Voss. The name means nothing to me, but the way Cassian says it, with a mixture of dread and pure, cold hatred, makes my skin crawl. "She's a private equity ghoul," Mendoza says. "She owns half the container terminals in the Gulf. She's untouchable. She has lawyers that have lawyers. The ledgers won't stick to her. She's insulated. She won't be happy you've just dismantled her new acquisition. She will not sit still." As if summoned by the name, Cassian's secure phone, the Harbor Light device, vibrates in his pocket, a short, sharp buzz. He pulls it out. He looks at the screen. I am watching his face. The color drains from it, not in fear, in rage, a pure, white-hot fury that is more terrifying than any of his cold commands. He doesn't say a word. He just turns the screen and shows it to me. It's a photograph, a real estate listing, a small, abandoned brick building on Pier 19. It's the boat repair shop I told him about, the one I saw in my dreams, the one I described in the tavern, my photo studio. Across the image, scrawled in a digital red script, are 2 words: dreams burn. Helena, she knows. She knows what he values. She knows who he values. She just declared war, not on his syndicate, but on me. My God, I whisper. Cassian looks up from the phone. His eyes are not on me, not on Mendoza. They are scanning the vast, curved glass ceiling of the conservatory. He's not seeing the fairy lights or the hanging orchids. He's seeing a tactical map. A glass cage, he breathes. It's a sniper's paradise. 1,000 angles. No cover. He moves. The commander is back. Mendoza, your team. Now lock the main doors. Kill the house lights. This is a tactical evac. He turns to me. His hands finding me, finding Rowan. He doesn't take her, but his hands are on us, checking her blanket, checking my face. His eyes are burning into mine. Mara, listen to me. This is the last move. Rhea, he snaps. Rhea is at our side, her weapon now drawn, low and ready. Take them. Go back to the steam tunnel, the seedling vault in the sublevel. Seal it. Do not open it until I come for you, or until Jax does. Do you understand? And you, I ask, my hand gripping his arm. Cassian, where are you going? He looks at me, and his expression is a terrible mix of regret and resolve. She's here. She's watching. She sent that message to draw me out. I have to be the target. I'm the only one who can be... He kisses me. It's not the slow, soft kiss from the fairy. It's hard, fast, and desperate. A brand, a promise. When I move, he says, his voice a low, urgent growl against my lips. You do not look back. You run. You take my daughter, and you run. He shoves me toward Rhea. Go. Now. He turns his back on me, on his daughter. He faces the main conservatory door, a man preparing to walk into a killing field. He's becoming the wall one last time. The lights in the main hall go black. Screams erupt from the darkness. And then, a sound. Not a bang, a high-pitched, resonant crack, like a sheet of ice breaking. It comes from above. Glass. A spotlight from a neighboring building flashes on, pinning the spot where we were standing. A second crack. A heavy, potted orchid explodes, a shower of purple petals and white ceramic shards. A hole, the size of a fist, appears in the glass dome above. The ready, pulsing strobes of the fire alarms kick in, bathing the entire conservatory in a silent, flashing, blood-red light. Helena Voss has begun. The world is a kaleidoscope of flashing red lights and falling glass. The fire alarm is a silent, pulsing strobe, painting the panicked faces of the crowd in bloody bursts of light. I'm clutching Rowan, my body curled around her, my back pressed against a large stone planter filled with ferns. Rhea is a solid, armed presence beside me, her focus absolute, her weapon tracking the shattered dome above. Chaos is a symphony. The screams of the guests, the sharp crack of another pane of glass giving way, the authoritative shouts of Mendoza's agents trying to establish a perimeter. This is Helena Voss's masterpiece. She isn't trying to kill us. Not yet. She's trying to create a slaughterhouse. Through the flashing red, I see Cassian. He's not running. He's not hiding. He's a conductor in the chaos. He makes a sharp, almost imperceptible hand signal to Rhea, a gesture I don't understand. Rhea's hand darts to the small, encrypted comms unit on her belt. She presses a sequence of buttons. For a second, nothing happens. Then, a low hiss echoes through the dome, a sound that cuts through the screams. It comes from everywhere at once, from the ceiling, from the flower beds, from hidden nozzles in the faux rock walls. The conservatory's irrigation system, the misting jets designed to simulate a rainforest morning kick on. A fine, cool spray that begins to fog the air. Then the sprinklers, not the fire sprinklers, but the heavy, agricultural ones. A sudden, Torrential downpour erupts from the ceiling. It's not rain, it's a tactical flood. The fine mist instantly becomes a thick, swirling fog under the flashing lights, obscuring everything. The heavy spray of the sprinklers is a deafening roar, turning the polished dance floor into a shallow, churning river. The sniper's line of sight is gone. The falling shards of glass are now being washed away by the deluge. He bought us cover, not with bullets, but with water. "This way!" Jax Orlov's voice booms from our left. He appears like a bear from the mist, having emerged from a maintenance corridor. He cranks a heavy winch on the wall, and a series of rolling, waist-high steel planters, part of the exhibit's machinery, grind into a new position, creating a solid metal wall, a protected channel leading us away from the main floor. "Move, move now," Mendoza is yelling, his clean team pushing the panicked guests toward the main exits, while a second tactical squad uses our new metal corridor to advance, weapons raised, into the heart of the dome. We are scrambling through the ankle-deep water, shielded by the planters. I'm holding Rowan so tightly, her face tucked into my neck, shielding her from the artificial rain. The water is cold, a shock to my bare feet. And then I see her high above us on a narrow maintenance catwalk that rings the inside of the dome. A figure is silhouetted against a shattered panel of glass, a woman, tall, severe, dressed in a dark pantsuit, Helena Voss. She's not holding a rifle. She's standing in front of a large, open electrical panel, sparks spitting from it. She's holding a heavy-duty cable, trying to jam it into the main breaker. She's not trying to shoot us anymore. She's trying to blow the entire power grid, to plunge the building into absolute sparking, electrified chaos. No one else sees her. Mendoza's team is focused on the sniper. Cassian is coordinating the evacuation. But I see her, and beside me, my hand gripping his arm, is Ezekiel Thorne, his eyes wide with terror. He sees her too. He sees the panel, and he sees the smaller, secondary junction box next to it, the one with the bright red shutoff lever, the emergency bypass for the irrigation system. He can't get to it, but he can tell someone else how. He looks at me, his eyes pleading. There's no time to write, no time to explain. I look toward Mendoza's team, but they're too far, too focused. But Ori Mendoza himself is closer, directing his men. I know he won't understand me. My hands come up. Wet and shaking, I sign, not to Ezekiel, but to Mendoza. Big, sharp, frantic movements, a language of desperation. Red, lever, cut, power, now. Mendoza looks at me, his face a mask of confusion. He doesn't understand, but one of his younger agents, his face barely out of his 20s, his eyes widen. He must have taken a basic course, a requirement for federal agents now. He looks from my hands to the catwalk, to the red lever. "Sir, the secondary circuit," she's saying, "cut the secondary circuit," he yells. Mendoza doesn't hesitate. He trusts his man. He trusts me. "Do it," he screams into his radio. "Kill the sub-panel power to the upper ring now." Helena Voss hears the shout. She sees us. She sees her plan failing. With a snarl of pure fury, she shoves the cable toward the breaker. But it's too late. The sparks die. The panel goes dark. Her weapon is gone. Cassian has seen it too. He's moving below the catwalk. He uncoils a heavy anchor rope from a nautical exhibit. He doesn't have a weapon. He promised me. He uses his tools. He swings the rope. The grappling hook at the end, a silver blur in the flashing red light. It soars up, hooks onto the railing of the catwalk, right beside Helena. He doesn't pull her down. He yanks hard, putting his entire weight into it. The railing groans, buckles, and twists. The entire section of catwalk sags violently, throwing Helena off balance. She screams, grabbing for purchase. Her chance to cause chaos gone. He has neutralized her, not eliminated her. The immediate threat is over, but the chaos isn't. From the corner of my eye, I see a flash of movement. Kane Hollister. He'd been lost in the stampede, but now he's making a final, desperate break for a service exit. He's holding a knife, a short, wicked-looking blade he must have had hidden. Cassian sees him. He lets the rope drop and intercepts him. It's not a fight. It's a disassembly. Kane lunges, and Cassian moves inside the arc of the blade, his hand trapping Kane's wrist, his other hand striking the pressure point in his elbow. Kane's arm goes numb, the knife clattering to the wet floor. Cassian spins him, pinning his arms behind his back in one fluid, brutal, and utterly non-lethal motion. He holds him there until two of Mendoza's agents can finally slap the cuffs on. Not a single shot fired in malice. He kept his word. The alarms finally die. The roar of the sprinklers subsides, replaced by a soft, dripping hiss. The emergency lights flicker on, bathing the drenched, ruined conservatory in a steady white light. Rowan, who'd been crying, is now silent. I look down at her. She is safe in my arms, her small head tilted up. Her eyes are wide with wonder, watching the thousands of water droplets that cling to the ferns and orchids, sparkling like a million tiny lighthouses in the emergency lights. She is not afraid. She is mesmerized. In the center of the drenched room, the final act of the play unfolds. Ari Mendoza stands over a defeated Helena Voss. He's signing a document on a waterproof tablet, a preliminary agreement. I know what it says. Witness protection for Ezekiel. The dissolution of Tri-County, an 18-month federal oversight of the newly restructured Mariners Gate logistics, and a single sealed addendum, the one that erases Mara and Rowan Linden from the official history of this night. The deal is done. The war is over. Cassian walks toward me. He's no longer the king, the commander, the wall. He's just a man, soaked to the skin. His expensive suit ruined, his hair dripping water onto the floor. There's a slight tremor in his hands, the last of the adrenaline leaving his system. He stops in front of us. He doesn't reach for me. He slowly, carefully, lifts one hand and gently, so gently touches his daughter's cheek with the back of his fingers. "I found you," he says, his voice thick, raw, stripped of all its authority. "And our daughter." He looks up, his eyes meeting mine, and they are filled with a terrifying, beautiful vulnerability. "If you'll let me, I will belong to you both, not the other way around." I reach out and place my free hand flat against his chest. His heart is a frantic, wild drum beneath my palm, a rhythm of fear and hope and relief. It's the most honest thing I have ever felt. "We belong together," I say, my voice finally steady, "as long as you keep your word to justice and to her." The weeks that followed were a quiet, steady rebuilding. Mariners Gate Logistics filed its first ever fully transparent tax return. The Harbor Mercy Foundation issued a widely publicized grant to a new local arts initiative, the Silver Wake Studio, a small photography workshop on Pier 19 dedicated to preserving the faces and stories of Bayview Harbor. My dream, paid for with clean money. Tonight, the air is calm, cool, and smells of salt and drying fishing nets. The studio is filled with portraits, the hard, kind faces of sailors, the proud, tired faces of their families. Their eyes all shine like lighthouses. Outside, on the pier, my daughter, now a laughing, toddling force of nature, runs between the draped nets, her small feet unsteady but determined. I'm watching her through the viewfinder of my Pentax, the world framed in a perfect silver halide square. Click. Whir. "Sorry I'm late," a voice says. Cassian, he's not in a suit. He's in jeans and a heavy wool sweater, carrying a box of invoices and receipts. He looks like any other small business owner, tired after a long day. He stops, watching his daughter chase a seagull. He looks at me, a soft smile on his face. One I'm still getting used to. "The first time I found you," he says. His voice is quiet as the fog rolling in. I said, "You both belong to me. Tonight, I'm correcting the record." He walks toward us into the frame of my camera. "I belong to you both." I lower the camera. I step into him, pulling him down by the collar of his sweater. I kiss him, a long, slow, warm kiss that tastes of salt and home. It is a kiss without an audience, without a motive, without a price. It is just for us. I raise the camera again, my arm around his waist, his arm around mine. our daughter laughing at our feet. Click. The shutter closes, capturing a single, perfect moment of family here in Bayview Harbor, where the storm has passed and the lighthouse is still burning, a quiet promise of a future free of gunfire, with just enough waves to make us grateful for the shore. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from, so please drop a comment below and let's share our thoughts. If you enjoyed this journey, consider subscribing to my channel, Mafia Boss Stories. Give this video a like and hit that hype button to help more people discover it. Your support means the world.